Welcome back to another episode of the Life's Ambition podcast. Today we are joined by someone who challenges themselves to be their best version every day. He's going to share his input on getting ready to run the perimeter of the United States and personal development. Without further ado, Chris Avery. So Chris, how are we doing today?
Man, today I want to be honest, like, and authentic. The last few days have been very much character building days, is what I like to call them. A lot of trials, some stress, working through that. But today it's a beautiful day, and I'm excited to be here, man. I'm excited to talk with you. So today's wonderful.
I appreciate that, and I'm super glad you're here. I know things are probably a lot nicer looking in Utah than it is in North Carolina right now. It's been raining nonstop the past 2 days. Okay. So I'm very excited to hear, what do you mean by character building days? Obviously there's some stress. What's been going on?
Yeah, man, just, with running 18 miles a day and then 2 little kids and business on, I run a company on top of that. There's just been a couple of those days where when, I know you said a lot of your audience is maybe in the younger stage, but just, man, there's those days where you go through and you're just like, I don't know what we have to do to make this work, or to get through this, but there's something. And I always find if I wait 24 to 48 hours, it's almost like my attitude and everything switches 180. So if I'm going to give any advice to younger people, if you're going through something really hard right now, or you're just feeling unclear, uncertain, stressed, you're going through school and it's stressful, give it another 24 or 48 hours, and I bet your life will look the exact opposite in your mind the way it was 24 to 48 hours ago.
And that's the crazy thing is, I know there's been, for me at work, there's certain tasks that I get every day, and then there's something new that happens, and it'll be let's learn Power BI or Power Automate, which is total automation system. I've never done it before, and something will need to be turned around in that day. And so it's super stressful. But when you talk about that 24 to 48 hours, you're so right, because it's just in the end, you can look back of, wow, I actually learned something. That was pretty cool. I did it. Yeah. And now I'm on the other side of it, and it feels probably a lot better. And I'd love to kind of hear how you got into this kind of whole world. I mean, 18 miles a day is crazy.
Oh, man, it is. So it's my wife's fault. I'm going to say it that way. I'm 10 years older than her, but I proved to myself over 20 years, because I ran 5 times in 20 years. I hated it so much. And, and just even going back to the youth that we were talking about, and not knowing when you're 18, 19, you're in your mid-20s, not knowing what you want to do. I coach people. This thing didn't even exist when I was 18. Nobody talked about, there was one person that anybody talked about coaching, and they didn't say coaching. It was Tony Robbins. So, when you look at that thing, and especially with technology and AI and all the other stuff, there's all these new things developing. So how did I get into it, man? My wife, we were dating, and she's prepping for this thing called a marathon. She's like, I'm going to run this marathon. I was like, cool. That's awesome. You should do that. And she's like,
go for it.
Yeah. That's, you do you, babe. She goes, do you want to run it with me? And I was like, at that time, I didn't even know how far that was. I was like, how far is it? She's like, 26.2 miles. And I was like, and you pay for that? And she's like, yeah, it's going to be so much fun. I'm like, not even close. I don't ever want to do that.
Yeah.
Anyways, we get married. She runs it. We support her. She finishes it. And then a year and a half later, she's going to run. She thinks it's going to be her last marathon. And her friends call her up and just say hey, it's a month out. And they're like, we haven't been training enough. We're going to drop out. So she came to me. She's like, hey,
no.
Yeah, man. And that would really suck, So she came to me and she's like, I think I'm going to drop out. I just want to be able to run this one with somebody. And I said, hey, I want to be a good teammate this time and a good husband. And I don't want you to not run your last one. So my stipulations are, I will sign up and run it with you, but I only want to buy new shoes and walk in them. I want to train, not at all. And she's like, really? I was like, yeah, let's do it. And she's like, that seems right for you. That seems right for your mindset.
Yeah.
And I just want to see, because everybody talks about how hard it is. And I will be honest, it is very challenging.
Oh, yeah.
But the truth of the matter is, most of us don't give up because of physical. We don't give up because of external pressure. We give up because of internal resolve. Right? So we don't speak to ourselves, and we don't give ourselves an outlet. It becomes so stressful and so much internal pressure that we just quit.
Yeah.
And so that day I signed up for it, got those new shoes. And then we woke up that morning, and when you wake up for a marathon, it's like 3 a.m. It's some ridiculous time
Yep.
because you got to get there at like 5 or something. Because you can't run through in the middle of the day; you got to run in the beginning there.
Hmm.
And so I was like, "Yeah, are we still doing this?" She's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh, okay." You kind of like check yourself, like, "Oh, maybe I should have signed up for this." We
Yeah.
go run it, man. Like halfway through, I have no idea about pace gels, any supplements. So I'm just cramped. Like my legs are cramping up, and I'm sweating so much, so I'm just dying. I'm starving to
Yeah.
death because I've eaten all my gels. And then 26 miles in, man, I remember just pulling out my phone and recording and saying, like, I could die today right now. Like I've given this my all.
Yeah.
Like at that time, that was my all, and I gave it to. And I remember going like, I could die today, and I'd still feel like proud of myself. I'd say like my life was complete just by doing that one thing that extracted all of me out of me for me to see
Yeah.
my full potential. So we crossed that finish line, man, and then I'd love to tell you, like, I started running consistently. I did it, right? Like then we did like a 60,000 push-up pull-up challenge. Like the next year, then COVID hit, of course, and so we did a 50 miler
You
while
did a
COVID was.
60,000 push-up pull-up.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh man.
It was good, man. It like looking at my body now compared to back then is just crazy difference from running consistently to working out that much.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, your body totally changes. So like I'm be honest, I kind of have a similar story to you.
okay,
My fiance, she's a really big Disney fan.
okay,
And so that's kind of how the ball first started is we went on her spring break trip. And this was a few years ago. We went to Disney, had a great time, and they started doing some of like the reach out for marathon weekend.
oh
And
yeah,
are you familiar with like have you
oh
done a
yeah,
Disney
yeah.
race before?
I haven't, man. Everybody tells me I should, but they
Oh,
sound
you
really
have to.
cool.
They are really cool. And so what happens is I'm like, my dad and one of like my best friend's older brothers has done a marathon and they say it's like a great experience. And I said, okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I checked out the different pages. They said this is when you were gonna sign up. All of it sold out within minutes because your queue system is different where it's very random. It's not like, oh, you're in place like 200 and then you kind
Oh,
of wait going up.
okay,
Yeah, so all of it sold out. I did a fundraiser one with the American Suicide Prevention
okay,
Foundation, and it was the Goofy Challenge. So it was a half marathon the first day, and then the marathon the second day. And I quote unquote just blame her that I had to do it.
that's awesome.
And so she actually didn't do it with me, but I say that she's the reason why I kind of got into running as well.
That's
Probably
cool.
the hardest thing I've ever had to do was that marathon day. My like left knee was in brutal shape. Like on mile 7 started hurting, and then mile 11 I was like run walking, and
Yeah.
then mile 14 I was walking. I
Okay.
walked 11 miles. It was
Oh,
the hardest thing I've ever had to do mentally and physically. I was in so much pain. There's
yeah.
like bikers that coming back to me, and they're like, "Do you need anything?" I'm like, "Do you have BioFreeze?" And they're like, every time it's the same people just pulling BioFreeze out of their bag.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. So,
That's
but if you ever get the chance, please do a Disney. It's so cool because you get to run through the castle and everything.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. Like I don't think we'll do this because it'll probably take us too far off our mission. But I think since we're running the perimeter, I think we'd be going by that kind of area. So I wondered if we could
Yeah.
do that. But we'll see if it syncs up. But it'd be really fun to do that for sure.
Yeah. So I love to talk about that challenge later on,
Yeah.
but I want to understand like what does running do for you? Like, why do you advocate for other people to do it? Why is it just so healthy? Because it is a very healthy thing to do, and I think everyone should have like goals in their mind of something to achieve. Like what does it kind of mean to you to be able
Yes.
to have this club then and do all this stuff?
Yeah. So for me, one thing I will say is looking at this, like I committed to no treadmill runs. And I've had to break that rule once when we were on a cruise because they wouldn't let me up on top of the ship because the weather was, we were going to Alaska. And so the weather was just so bad. They obviously, they can't take that risk. So I had to run on a
Yeah.
treadmill one day. But my point of saying no treadmill is first and foremost, man, it gets me outside every day. So I don't care if it's raining. I don't care if it's snowing. I don't care, if it's midnight or if it's, sunny and beautiful at 7 o'clock in the morning. I get outside. So that is incredible for me. So I get away
Yeah.
from all the electronics, take a break from life. But really, man, the things it gives me is one, running every day for over 1,500 days now. It's just, it's mentally challenging, it's physically challenging, and it's spiritually challenging. So it helps me grow a deeper connection to God and a deeper understanding of myself and what I really am capable of.
Yeah.
It also just gives me mental clarity, and it gives me space to just take in information. If I want to learn something, if I'm so I think those are the bigger things is how do you regulate your central nervous system? And that may be complicated for people, but you can look it up if you want, or I can go to more details. But regulating your central nervous system is the most important thing, especially when you're doing hard things like this. When you're creating a business, you get stressed easy. And so when you can go out and regulate yourself and you can get clear and get yourself mentally clear, those are just huge game changers, man.
Yeah.
And it's just made me the best husband and best father up to this date that I could be because of those pieces, because of that mental clarity, because of the emotional regulation. Like if me and my wife have a disagreement or a character building day, as I like to call them, I can go out for a run and just find peace of mind and realize like nothing is that big as I think it is, and nothing is threatening me really because I'm out here in this world and it's all peaceful and it's good. And luckily, I get to run next to a river most days, so that's also beautiful.
That's very pretty. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
How did this when did this mindset start? Did it start when you met your wife? Did it start from your parents? Because I mean, running in itself, not many people can do. Like, especially if you're running 18 miles every day or
Yeah.
just even running every day. I can only think of maybe like one person that I know that might be running most days of the week.
Yeah.
And so, how did this mindset develop for you? Was it family? Was it parents? Or what was it for you?
Yeah, man. I want to say, like, I want to give my parents credit. Like, and I mean this truthfully. They gave me a good mindset about, like, man, you could do anything you want, right? Like, I think most parents say that to you. They also gave me, like, on some sides, the opposite of that. So then I get to choose, do I accept that or do I rebel against it? And so, I'm a person that is very just passionate and determined. And I think that was something that was born, like, I was given at birth.
Yeah.
Um, but really, man, I went through a lot of struggles in my past, drugs and alcohol, pornography, a lot of mental health issues. I got
Yeah.
molested when I was a kid. I just didn't know how to handle it. And so fast forward when I was in my late 20s, I started getting into personal development. And that's where my mindset really started to shift, right? Like started to see opportunity, started to look for the better in the world, started to look for better of myself. And that was really the biggest shift. And then it's just grown. It's been exponentially growing, especially since the run. But really, I just got to the point where I look at people, and like I'm sure most people know who David Goggins is or James
Yep.
Iron, and you look at those people and you go like, wow, they're incredible. But I go and look and go like, they're incredible. So can I, right? So can we. Like it's not they put their pants on, they get up in the morning just like I do. So
Yeah.
if it's capable for them, and I hope people take that from this story. Like whatever, it doesn't have to be running, but whatever you have, whatever you feel called to do, or you go like, man, let me see if I can do this. Go see if you can do it, and then get around good people and get yourself to be the person that won't give up on yourself. And the 1,500 days has taught me that, man. And I want to be honest, like I'm running 18 miles now, but when we started this, and we can get more into this later, it started with 1 mile because I never run more than 4 days consecutively. Even when I trained for my 50, I never ran more than 4 days in a row.
Yeah.
So when I saw that, man, like I think this is just a good advice for anybody. Find something, start really small because it's hard to like when you ran the half and the full, you couldn't have run the next day, correct? Or it would have been really challenging.
Gosh,
Yeah.
no.
So same thing when I ran the marathon with no training, right? Like so you can do something really big and amazing inconsistently. Or you can do something really small consistently that makes you be able to do something really big consistent. And so
Yeah.
to me, man, like starting small was one of those big things. But the mindset, man, came from, hours and hours of audios, hours and hours of reading books, hours and hours of taking on challenges and seeing that, I can get 1% better. And that's really
Yeah.
where the mindset got developed. But I always want to give credit to, we're so shaped by our families and our youth that,
Hmm.
of course, some of it came from that. Of course, my parents were, whatever you put up here, and if you can't see this, I'm pointing in my head, like whatever you put in your head, nobody can take that away from you. Like that's a message my dad always shared with me. And my parents were always a proponent of like, you can do amazing things in this world if you really want to. And I just have found an avenue for that.
And that's amazing. I know my parents are kind of the same situation where they told me and my brother that, the harder you work, the further ahead you'll be. And it was kind of like more of a point of view. In a sense, it was the further ahead you'll be, and then everyone else is going to be looking at you to want to do the same thing. The people that you're with will also want to push themselves to do more. And then it kind of keeps cascading down and down and down, where then everyone's pushing themselves to be the best they can be. And I'd love to talk a little bit about your past, if you don't mind.
No, man. You can ask me any question you want. I don't care.
Also, yeah,
Yeah.
I'd love to. So, what made you look into the personal development? Like, obviously, being part of like drugs and all that stuff can be a tough like system to be in, or like kind of like environment. So, was it like someone specifically, or was it like a teacher, or did you hear something online of like, oh, check out this personal development thing? Because I'm
Yeah.
always curious about how people break out of one environment into another. Like, I think that kind of mindset shift is really powerful.
That's a great question, man. Nobody's ever asked me that, so I appreciate that question. It went like this, man. When you are stuck in something for so long, and it doesn't have to be drugs or alcohol. You can just be in the like getting out of bad relationships, trying to figure out like whatever it is, man. We want to run for. I'll say in my past, I've wanted to run from the pressure, and I wanted to run because it hurt so bad. And with drugs and alcohol, man, I had really two choices, and it was either like kill myself. So if anybody's feeling that, man, like don't give up, keep going. There's hope
Yeah,
for you, and I
it's a
hope
hard
this
spot
is
to
a
be in.
message of hope. Or there's got to be a better way, and I can figure it out. Luckily, that on those days where I said like, man, I don't want to be here any longer if this is what life is. I realized like there is a better way, and because I chose, I like to think of it this way, man. Like when you choose to think there's a better option and there's a better way, and you like keep knocking for that and you keep looking for that, like God will deliver that to you. And so I just really got into the understanding of like, man, there's a better option. And so I started to open up my mind to even look that there was a better option. Because before I would have just been like, nope, that's not good. Oh, that person's trying to get me. And then luckily I had somebody come up to me and go like, hey man, because I was still like I was still out, even though I was drinking and doing drugs and stuff, I was still around decently good people
Yeah,
for little like spurts in my life.
gotcha.
And I was around this couple. We were doing some stuff with politics and the Constitution and stuff. And they just came up to me and they said like, "Hey, we really think a lot of you." Um, I had a 12-inch red mohawk at this time, so just a normal guy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But they came up to me and they're like, "Hey, we really love like working with you and what you're doing. Would you be interested in like looking at something that could better your life?" And I said, yes, because I was finally open, man. Because the
Mm.
pressure and the yeah, just the pressure was so much at that moment that like it gave me enough to like crack me to realize like I need to be remade in some way. And so they started talking to me, and I just say like, man, I'm open to anything at this moment. Like let me see what it is. What's the worst thing I say no? So they showed me just good books and audios and a great community, and that was really what changed. Like that was the I want to say not step one, but that was part of the steps. And then getting to know, like, getting God in my life. Like, I was 31 when I really found God, and I had, no knowledge of Him besides, hey, my parents talk about Him on Christmas or something, or we
Yeah.
go to church to listen to Christmas music. Um, But man, that was really how it sparked, was just one good person, two good people really said, hey, you want to take a shot on yourself and see if these things will really help you get better? And I said, let's do it. And that was
Isn't
really the
it?
catalyst that got me into it.
Yeah, isn't that amazing how life works in that sense, where it's like slight nudges here and there, and it's definitely God in the making of pushing certain people in your life, or if you're asking for something, it'll appear at certain points. Like if you want to learn to be patient, things like there's certain tasks and stuff that will come along that will teach you to be more patient. And
Yeah.
so, and I'm really glad that you're here, Chris. I think it's
Thanks.
because I think you have such a cool story and message to share with everyone. And I know we're just starting to kind of get into it. And so I'm really glad you're here. Like I have personally struggled with that before. I definitely look to, like, if anyone else is struggling with it, kind of like you're saying, the way I picture in my head is what would the people around me think,
Mm,
or how would it affect the people around me? And so I think a lot about my parents, my brother,
yeah.
like friends, like I know it really affect them. And so that's kind of what brought me back into Lions. What makes me pursue to want to do more each and every day is to just kind of, to be there for someone, even if I'm not there personally. This is like an avenue to do that. And when you were going through that time and coming out of it, what were the conversations like with your parents or the people around you at
Oh,
that time?
geez. Oh, geez, man.
Because
You
I
know,
feel like it can't be easy to have those conversations, but then they also see the development of you wanting to do better. And it
yeah.
kind of goes back to what my parents are saying is like, then you're bringing the people with you. And did you have that same effect when you got in touch with this group, that people maybe that you were around also came with you?
No, not at all. No, nope, not
Really?
one bit. And I mean that like respectfully. I think as a parent, it's difficult to watch your kid do that. And I think it's also just, I think the parents are doing the best they can with what they have, man. So if you're having struggles with your parents, like, have
Yeah.
grace for them. Have grace for
Yeah.
yourself. It is a journey for sure. I think it's like this, man. Like when somebody watches you fail for, like, there's a quote that says Jesus wasn't a prophet in his own town, and you can go look up scriptures and decide that yourself. But looking at that, man, like when you're fresh into something new, I feel like you don't have enough traction for people to jump on the bandwagon. It's almost like you got to go through the refiner's fire to get, to build anew so they can see that. And so when I say that, like, they were supportive. They were supportive in me doing it, but that was my journey. That's not their journey. And so
Gotcha.
I understand that, so like, were they supportive? Or like, man, this is making you better. Like, man, you're finding God. This is making you better. Absolutely, they were. Also, just when you change, that is confronting to other people. So if you're around people that love you and it feels like they maybe aren't in full support, just realize it's because it's confronting them too. Like if
Yeah.
you change, it changes the whole dynamic in the relationship. And you can go study psychology and things like that to understand like how the brain functions, to understand like our identities and how one shift causes other people to shift. Now I will tell you, man, like, because that was 13 years ago when I started my personal development journey, because I'm
Wow.
way older than you guys, so I'm 41, right? So I started out when I was 28. And you guys are like, dang, you are old, bro. But anyways,
Not at all.
you know, so what I realized is you got to put, and I even thought this earlier when we were talking about doing things, like you got to put the work in. You said work hard, and you got to put that work in, I think, longer than most of us think, before people go like, oh, especially with drugs, man. Because like there were times where I was trying to get sober, and I would get sober and then I'd relapse. So
Mm.
in order to prove out, like, man, I was going to stay consistent, like that's what people look for. Is then, are you a man? Are you a man or a woman of your word? And then, are you staying consistent? And when I proved it out long enough that I was staying consistent, then you saw people come. Then you saw people want to change. Then you saw people go like, oh, I'm kind of interested in this thing now because you seem to be doing it. It seems to be better in your life. Like, I'm interested in dipping my toe in the pool. And so
Yeah.
that was really, I think, from my, we can interview my parents later, but that's my remembrance of how it worked, and how family did.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. And congrats on like making your way through it. Like I know
Thanks.
obviously you said like you make it through it, then relapse. But I'm glad that you're through it now and kind of on the other side. And I love to kind of hear about your relationship now with, you said early on that when you run, there's that relationship where you're clearing your mind for all the tasks and like working on your relationship with God. Like, what was your turn to faith, and how does faith kind of play a role into your everyday impact on others?
Yeah, man. I loved it. Again, like I'm a very, and take this with, for yourself. Like I'm a very slow learner, bro. Like God has a ton of grace because I test the waters over and over to make sure it doesn't work.
Oh, that's all good. I have to be told something at least 3 times before like
Yeah,
I understand it. So I
yeah.
totally get that.
So it was a very slow thing, Like I just started again in my late 20s. I got into personal development, and then I was in that for a few years. And then I thought, like, man, like this is amazing, but I think there's something more that I need. Like it helps me be better, but it doesn't feel like that hole, if
Yeah.
I'll say it that way. And so, man, I just those same people, and I got in that community, and a lot of them had some sort of level of faith. And so when I at that time, after being with that community for about a year and a half or two, I started a search, and luckily somebody was just like, hey, like I think this could be a great, thing for you to do. Like, are you interested in finding out more? And so we started studying scriptures, and then I started going to like church. And again, I'd love to tell you like everything changed. It didn't, man. Like I still struggled. I still relapsed, but luckily I stayed there long enough. I stayed in the community long enough, because sometimes it's not about what you're doing. It's about seeing what other people are doing. And when
Mhm.
you see what other people are doing, it gives you hope. If you have enough trust in yourself that, man, that could be for me too. Like they're not unbelievable. They're just a human just like me. And so it was just a slow, gradual shift, man. It's not that like come to Jesus moment that people are waiting for in their life. Like I don't think that happens for most of us. I think most of us are this slow, gradual change, and then you look back over a year or two and you go like, man, look at how different life is just because we
Yeah.
did that for that long. And again, it goes back to that consistency thing. But that was really how I shifted to faith. And just to answer your other part of the question, like my shirt says trust in God's plan. Man, when you do something, most people call it crazy when I talk to them, and we'll talk about that piece later. But when you do something crazy, and when you, I'll just be honest,
Mm.
hindsight, guys, this may be wisdom. Don't have 2 kids that are under 4, try to run for 1,500 days and create a business all at the same time. It's very chaotic, right? But to me, that's amazing because it's given me the most, like I've grown more. And so I've been, I would say, a man like connected to God for 11 years. Okay.
Mhm.
I will also say that my faith over the last 3 years from running has grown exponentially because of the running, right? Because of the
Awesome.
pressure, because of the challenge, because it's so hard, because you wake up feeling exhausted, because your son's born, your wife goes into labor for over 24 hours, and you cry
Wow.
to yourself because you think you're not going to make the run that day, and you think your streak's an end, and then you walk out of the hospital doors at 11:59, and you start your tracker, and you go get your 13 miles in. It shows something about you to you, and it
Hmm.
shows something to you about your connection to a higher power, to God, to be able to handle those situations.
Yeah. And it goes back to what you said too about, you can make those big changes over periods of time and be like inconsistent about it, or you could do small things all at a time and then make those big changes much easier. And
Absolutely.
so it just goes right back to what we talked about with that. And 24 hours of labor, that's crazy. Obviously, don't have a kid of my own.
Yeah, yeah. I
But
recommend it, by the way. Everybody should have kids. So the reason I brought up the kids, because the marriage and the kids is one of the greatest like stadiums of learning. Then there's business, which is another great stadium of learning. And then there's the running, which is a third stadium of learning. So they
yeah.
all give you different things. They all like correlate together, but they all teach you different things about yourself.
Yeah, well, it's that pressure aspect. And I'm sure like that, because you think about, well, I got a family and kids now, like I got to perform for them.
Yeah.
So how did like this company start? Like, what were you doing beforehand? Like, how did you meet your wife, and like that story kind of, because that led you to your running career. Like
Yeah.
how did that all happen?
Yeah, that's a lot of questions, so I'll do my
Yeah,
best to
sorry
answer
about
them.
that.
No, I love it, man. I think it's going to flow well together. I hope to make it flow well together. So, man, I'll be honest. Like I started working for Chase Bank so I was doing banking stuff in my 20s, and like I said, I got part of that community, and then that community led to another guy, and
Mm,
that was the guy, and his name is Michael Burnoff. He lives in Scottsdale, Arizona. I went to his event. And so I just want to share this part of the story. Somebody from his team followed up with me every month for 13 months before I said yes to it.
wow.
So that's
That's
how I'm going back
consistency.
to slow. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
consistency for him. Slow learner, right? I was like, nah, I got this. I got my stuff over here with this group. I'm good. Luckily, he kept following up because it changed my life forever, man. I got involved with him, and I went there once, and then you can come back, right? So I came back as leadership. And then I got to help. I got to be like a little bit helper to other people. And when you help somebody else, see, I thought I went back for myself. When I got there, I realized I went back to help others. And when I helped, and that's giving me goosebumps, man. When I help others, now the light kicked on. Like, man, this is how powerful it is. Because when I helped them, it also helped me. But
Yeah.
then that day, and then I went back again as leadership, and I went and like then I got to be A team, which is the higher lead. It's like the leadership of the leadership. So we helped him run the events, and we did that
Nice.
several times. And the point of me telling you that was just to go like, man, it didn't happen all at once, but the biggest thing I got was helping others transform their life is far more tasty and far more powerful for your transformation than it is just you doing it alone in a silo by yourself. So, so that's really how that piece works. So that's how I left, and that's how I got into coaching, right? That's how I got into coaching men, was from
Gotcha.
from all that. So just to answer the question about the wife, so, I, found God. I'm going, this may sound weird, but I'm at a party with about 1,000 people. There's nobody's drinking or getting rowdy like the old parties I used to go to. Is all everybody's sober, but it was just a Halloween party.
Yeah.
So it's a really nice house. We go up on the roof because the roof is nice enough where there's fire pits up there, and you can go up there. Like, there's a
Nice.
stairway, and you can go up. So it's a really nice house. There's this little girl. I shouldn't say that little girl. She was of age, okay? So she was, I was 31, she was 21. And I in my mind I went like, I would never date a girl that young. But she came up to me and she talked to me about a shirt I had on that like the levels would go up and down with the music. And so she came up and talked to me about it. She's like, nice shirt. And so we started talking, and I felt like
That's
our
a cool
soul.
costume, I gotta say. If it
Thank you,
goes up
man.
with
Thank you, thank you. And that day I felt like our souls danced. And so luckily I didn't know this at the time, but her and I had a few mutual friends. And so I just kept like coming back to activities that they had and things that they were doing as friends. And just one day I was like, hey, you're tons of fun. I'm tons of fun. You want to go out on a date together? And she's like, yeah. And so we went on a date, and as they say, the rest is history, man. That we both met in Arizona. She moved up here for school. I moved up here for love, and I got a ring on my finger and 2 kids, and it's the same lady,
boom.
so it clearly worked. And I'll say, man, because of the personal development before that, I became a man that said, like, I don't want to look back in 20 years and say, what if? I want to look back in 20 years and say, like, I did it, and it worked, or it didn't, and here's what I learned, and here's what I got from it.
Yes, that's
And
that's the mindset. Yes.
yeah. And so that allowed me to leave Arizona, which I lived in my whole life, and move to Utah. And we've been here since, and we won't be here for much longer. But that's really how, and I hope I answered all your questions, but that's really
Oh yeah.
how I got into coaching. Was, man, I really never thought I'd do I didn't even know what that meant. Like I need to get better. I need to get off drugs and alcohol, make my life better. You know what I'm saying? I'll do something after this, but make my life better. And then because of that, when I was working with Michael, I was helping him run his last event, and we were just walking after and talking about like what went well, what didn't. And he just said like, what do you really want to do, man? And I said, man, I'd love to work with you. And so we started that process. But then like 2 weeks later, I was going to move to Utah. And he's like, you got to be in Arizona if you're going to work with me. And he said, but like, dude, if you want to go help people, like, don't just help people in sobriety, but if you want to go help people, like, go do it. You're capable. You can
Yeah.
do it. And those words hit true to my core. And I was already helping people at the event, so I saw it. And so that's how coaching started. That's how I met my wife. And yeah,
Tough that she got you into running, right?
it is, man. Never would have assumed that, never would have thought it.
Well, yeah, I love to ask, like, so your life is in Arizona, you have your stable income, and you're getting put into these events. Then you start your own thing.
Yeah.
I guess, how do you know when to make that switch of starting your own thing, not really knowing if it's going to work, and kind of leaving what is stable or comfortable for you?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. Again, nobody's ever asked me that, so I really love that question.
And I
You,
appreciate it. Like,
yes, yeah.
go ahead.
You
Sorry.
No, that's okay. You don't know. And that's the truth of the matter. You don't know, right? Like life is uncertain, man. If you think you know anything, just question it because you may not. We know far less than we think we know. I'll say it that way. What I like to do though is looking back, I like to go, most people when they want to start a purpose-driven business, and that's what we help men do that are analytical, have kids, faith-driven. I'm very analytical. So I analyze risk a lot. And so if we look at that, like it's risky. But what I realize, man, is this. Most people think you got to just go from either you got a job or you got business. The truth of the matter is what we do is, and this is what I did, is we help people prove it out. So keep your job because you don't want to like put your family at risk. You don't want to feel like just lack and stress about money. So if you realize like I can build this at the side, and so really what it was these slow incremental movements of, okay, I got a job, now I'm going to start to build this on the side. And
Yeah.
so really we have a system that we take people through, but it's really these small little things that we get them to do daily that again build that new identity as a business owner, that build confidence and trust and consistency. And then that when they see themselves doing it, now you go like, oh, I'm actually doing the work. I'm not just sitting on the sidelines thinking about it, worrying about the risk. I'm doing it. Plus, I have financial still security through the business. Plus, when you're building it on the side, it's not a ton of extra time if you do it a certain way. And so we just did that and we implemented that, not knowing that we would ever coach anybody on this, but that's just what we did. And
Yeah.
then once you realize like, oh man, I can get clients. Oh man, like I can serve the person if it's coaching or not. Like I could serve the person on like what I want to do. Now there's a tipping point. And I usually like to say that's usually around a year or two for most people. There's a tipping point where you just go like, oh, we can let the job go. And some people do it, in 6 months. But I think really the closer time is that around that yearish mark where people feel they've been consistent enough, they trust in themselves enough, they trust in God enough that they make the leap from, like doing their business part time to letting go of their job and doing the business full time. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah,
Did
no,
that?
for
Okay.
sure. Because
Okay.
I got a few follow-ups to that
Yeah.
is because there's a lot of time invested in both your main job and the side hustle. What was the conversation like with your wife, or did you have kids at that point yet, or was it later on? Like, how do you manage all those expectations of yourself, but also carrying out those responsibilities of growing certain things?
Yeah. So one, and I think this is the person beside yourself that you will spend the most time with is your spouse. Choose wisely. Like, man, if I would have any of the women that I dated before I dated my wife had those worked out like I hope they did, I would not be here talking to you right now. I believe that. So choose wisely. Like I chose a woman that wanted to grow better together, wanted adventure, and was willing to like go out there. Like since we started dating, we talked about traveling around America in an RV with our kids to see like where we really want to live. Like go there, spend a season, right? So we had some of those things in common, but I just luckily God blessed me and I chose wisely to find a woman that's very supportive, that is very much like we'll figure it out. She is very happy to be frugal when we need to put in energy to the kids and to me when we need to. And so I think one is choose wisely on your spouse. And when we started it, we didn't have kids. We shortly after that we had kids. I mean, I guess I won't say that. We had our little girl. We didn't have both kids. right?
Yeah.
So we were fresh in the kid thing. And when I really look at it, man, like most people say they're not going to do it because they have kids. I say I'm going to do it because I have kids. Because like most parents tell you can do whatever you want while they're not doing what they really want. And I don't want to be the words, I want to be the example, because there's something in your brain called
Hmm.
mirror neurons, and they mirror the people around you. That's the reason when I did drugs, I was around people that did drugs.
Hmm.
When I'm doing these run things and I'm in, helping people have better lives, I'm around those better people because we're mirroring each other. And
Yeah.
so to me, man, like that's an important piece of it. And so really, man, like that's how it started. I don't even know if I answered your question. So if you want to repeat your question, I'm happy to answer it. But like
No,
those are the
that's
pieces that I
perfect.
could. Okay.
Yeah, because I it's a lot to figure out, especially when you're a first time parent. I'm sure it's even more to figure out because I'm sure you could read 1,001 books, but it won't mean anything until you're like, oh, this crying means probably they want food, or this means whatever, they need a nap.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
very much envy you for being able to deal with all of that. And
Thanks.
because it does sound like it was a lot of sacrifices being made. And I'd love to kind of hear about how you grew from, just promoting to then getting to that first person that was in your coaching to now over 1,000.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great question, man. Um, so everything's very gradual, and I just want to be honest. Those 1,000 are because we eventually got good enough where we trained and coached other coaches, so they became part of the atmosphere of our business,
Yeah,
and so they help coach. So when we say that, like, I want to make sure we incorporate and give credit to the team, right? It's
for
not
sure,
just a
for
me
sure.
thing, like that. I didn't handle 1,000 people alone. There were, but we facilitated that. Um, Man, it's the most challenging thing for most people is getting that first client. It's the reason most people give up because it feels tough. What and this sounds crazy, but what we did is we went and knocked on doors on business. Like we went really randomly knocking
This is
doors on
like old time
businesses.
sales.
Oh, old time, yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah.
literally what the first guy that hired me said. He's like, "Oh, bro, like if you're willing to come knock on my door and just randomly, like we've never met. I have a pretty big company. Like he was a COO of the company. He's like,
Wow.
I'm willing to have a conversation, man, and I'm willing to hire. Like if the conversation goes well, I'd be willing to hire you. So,
Nice.
and then then I started to go out and find people while I was knocking on doors to be able to speak in front of them. So like start to give little like free presentations, and social media was around back then, but not like it is now. So
Yeah.
so the it's easier to do it now than it was back then. But to me, looking at it, I go, that's really how the journey started. That's how we acquired our first, two clients. Was one going and presenting in front of people, two knocking on doors. And
Yeah. Did
again,
you have
yeah.
the suit on and
Oh,
everything?
oh
And you're
yeah, of
like,
course, bro.
here, like, do you have a billboard? And you're like, hey,
no,
this is,
no,
let me
no
break this
billboards, but
down.
I definitely, had the suit on, looked professional.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, man. So that's really how we got started. And then, my wife through this whole journey, man, is it's communication and clear communication. It's
Yeah.
not that most people aren't willing to support you. It's that most people either hide what they're going through or they don't communicate what they really want, and it gets like unclear, so then they feel disconnected. Me and my wife, since we started this, have been very connected on here's what we're doing, here's what we're putting in financially, here's what we're going to do to make it work. How do we either work together, or if we don't work together, that's okay. But like, how do you support me and how do I support you? Like, right? Like, because for me, she stays home with the kids, but like, I love being with my kids, man. Like, I
Yeah.
love it, bro. Like, before we had our first kid, literally, like probably 4 months before, I was like, I don't even care if we ever have kids. I'm very purpose driven. I'm coaching. I love doing this. Like, I'm fulfilled. And luckily, she got me to commit to the kid thing because it is one of the most things that makes me grow the most, and it's one of the most joyful things I've ever experienced.
That's
And I
awesome.
love being with my kids, man. So it's not you have to figure out what your harmony is, and you have to figure out what you want your lifestyle to look like. Most of us just get a job, and then we go like, this is life. We don't design our life, and I think that's a tragedy because like we should design and decide what we want from our life, and then do
Hmm.
our best to pursue it and go get it. And to me,
Yeah.
that's what we did, right? Is we designed our life So we knew a regular job was not going to be good for us for long. We knew like what kind of lifestyle we want to do and what kind of people we want to be. So we had certain parameters and guidelines that we live inside because of that. And that's what shaped us and has bonded us closer together through the struggles and through the wins, and not pulled us apart like a lot of relationships.
which is awesome. And have you ever seen the show Suits before?
I haven't. I know what it is though. Yeah.
So Steve Harvey is like the main or one of the main lawyers,
Okay.
and they're for what you were saying about how you work and that's your life. He has this quote in there. He's like, "Life is like this." And for people that can't see, I have like a low bar. He's like, "I like this," and he
Yeah.
just goes right above. And I've when I heard those words, it like instantly clicked in my head. I was like, "Yup, I definitely I want to pursue passions and do more and like give more to people." And
Yeah.
so that's why I do this. And I love to kind of change like subjects, I guess, a little
Sure.
bit,
Yeah.
if you don't mind, and like kind of hear about some of these challenges that you take on, because you do make life this, like
Yeah.
where it's very much the high road. And when I heard 60,000 push-ups and pull-ups, I think of, wow, that's daunting. So how do you break it down in your head, or even the running too around the perimeter of the US? Like, how do you break these goals down? Because it is daunting when you think
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. And that's what most people look at. They look at the end, And I wanted to say this real quick back to what you were saying. I think people pick on the youth a lot. And I want to say one thing I love and admire about the youth is they don't want to do it the old way. They don't want to go into the old system. They know it's broken and it doesn't work. It doesn't work for having joy in life. It doesn't work for living a life that you really want. And I love that the youth is more willing to rewrite that and figure out a new way. And especially in our technology world, like there's so many ways to write your own journey and not have to be stuck in a 9 to 5 where you're just hating life. You got your kids at home and you never see them. So I just want to say I admire that in you guys. To go back on how I break it down, man, is again, I told you I'm very analytical and I love numbers. Okay, that
Nice.
maybe make you sound sick, but I love it, man. I think it's important and it helps me understand and get clarity. When I looked at the push up pull up challenge, man, in my mind I set like I'm gonna need to get up to X amount of pull ups and push ups every day. So before we even start the challenge, I want to get up and make sure I can do 150 push ups and pull ups, like each day. Okay. And so when I did that, you then start to understand like, okay, how much time does that take? Okay,
Mhm.
like now I bought literally I bought a pull-up bar and I would carry it everywhere. I don't care. It would fit on a door frame, so I don't care, man. I would just go bust it out, right? Like, oh, we got a meeting in 10 minutes? No problem. I can get 50 pull-ups then. Boom, okay. I get, like 50 pull-ups, 50 push-ups. So we started to learn how to manage the time and manage the activity. Then about 3 months after the initial body prep, then we hit the next 60 days hard. So that was really how we broke it down.
Gotcha.
And then with the running, man, when I started out on the running, the training started on January of 2022. So we've been running for over 4 years straight, 1,500 plus days.
Congrats, man. That's awesome.
I appreciate it. And so when we did that, I looked at the mileage, and again, I looked back at my old trackers, and I said, okay, I've never run more than 4 days. How can I let me see if I can run for a week, and let me break it down so small that I would laugh at myself if I didn't do it that day, right? I want to make it so stupidly small that I go like, this is a joke. Because a mile, like I can walk a mile in about 15, 16 minutes.
Yeah.
If I want to run, like I can run a mile between 6 minutes, and if I'm running a slow mile, 10 minutes, right? Okay, man, I got 10 to 15 minutes a day. I can do that. So I know tonight if I'm gonna go lay in bed and I haven't ran my mile, I will get my butt out of bed and go run. And I broke it down even smaller than that. I said the truth is the mile isn't even the hard part, because I just told you why it's not hard, right? But I built in my self belief that it's not hard. I told myself it's not hard. I told myself it's ridiculous if I don't do it. Okay, so look at how I'm talking to myself.
Yeah.
Look how I'm like taking my identity and telling myself it's totally capable. Then when I looked at it, I go like, it's not even the mile. It's getting myself off the couch through the door. And I
That's
said to
probably the
myself,
hardest part.
it is. It is the absolutely still today it's the hardest part. But yet I said like I know if I can get myself outside, I will finish the miles no matter what. And that again gave me a piece where I go like, okay, so all I got to get really do is put on my shoes, stand outside my door, and I know I won't come home until I get the miles in. And that's been true for now over 1,500 days. But really, man, I understood that I wanted to show people what a 5-year plan is. See, most people don't, we don't, in normal life, because we don't plan our life, we look at time as in this week or today or, maybe a month if we're
Yep.
lucky, or like
Yep.
when we sit down at the beginning of the year, we say like, here's our goals, but we really write down goals for like the first month. We don't, most people stop looking at them after that. And so to me, I want to show people like, here's what a 5-year plan looks like. And I'll tell you, man, when I'm out there running, like I'll show you like here's 800 days. Nobody's here to cheer you on, man. Here's 1,000 days. Nobody's here to cheer you on. Here's 1,500 days. Nobody here to cheer you on. So you got to be your greatest cheerleader. But when I sent out the 5-year plan, I realized like if I can do a mile, and then we started. We chose, and this is so important. We just like the pull-ups. Like soon as we made the decision, the next day we started. We didn't have time to do research. We didn't have time to research like, can human beings do this? Like what is this really going to take? What is this like? We just stepped out and did it. And because we did it, like we already had evidence that we were doing it. And then, like I'd love to tell you that originally our plan was to run straight across America. But my wife quickly searched that and she's like, that's like 200 to 500 people. And we're like, oh, that's way too many people. That's not unique because we love being unique. That's not unique enough. That's not challenging, right? 3,300 miles. We've never run more than 7 days straight at this point. Yeah, we're not doing that.
You're not unique enough for running.
That's not a good plan. We got to come up with something better. So then as the time evolved and as we kept running, like we're like, okay, we could run across America and then back. We could do like a Forrest Gump, across America and then back. And we're like, that's cool. But that's only 6,600 miles. Like, is that enough? Is that really big enough? Then we're like, we could do a V, like upper West Coast down to Texas, back up to, that was like 9,000.
Which is amazing that you're having these conversations.
Yeah, somewhat crazy, but also like, again, having a good teammate. Because my wife's the one that came up with the plan of running the perimeter. I came home and it was about, I think, 2.5 years in to running. So just keep this in mind, guys. Like we set a 5-year plan. We did not know what the end was going to look like until 2.5 years into it. We didn't know in the beginning, right? So 2.5 years of uncertainty of like not knowing, but just kept being persistent, showing up, building resiliency. And then she's like, hey, what if you ran the perimeter of America? That'd be really cool. And I was like, that sounds really cool. And, originally I was deciding between a 50K, which is 31.1 miles, or a 50 miler every day. And so like, then we're like, okay, we'll run the perimeter. Okay, how many miles is that? That's 12,000. Okay, so if we break, like how many days will that take? And so my wife, when I was pushing for 50 miles, she's like, the shortest ultra marathon is a 50K. That gives you still time with the family because we don't want to just show people the run. We want to show people the lifestyle and the connection with the family because it's not about just the run. It's not about just me. It's really about one man, one family, one RV, right? Travel in America, seeing America like no one else, having this incredible life experience. Because I think to me, life is about, when you look at it, you go, I want to make the most legendary story. I love based on true story movies. I want to make the most legendary story that I can create while I'm here. So that's going to be a lot of ups and downs and a lot of challenges. So we chose the 50K because we wanted to show like there's still time. There's still time to do this amazing. Yeah, all things. Absolutely, man. You said it, Drew. Like there's absolutely time to do this amazing thing and still have time to invest in the family and have an incredible lifestyle. So again, going back to lifestyle, if you've noticed, I've said that several times. So that's when we decided we'll run the perimeter, 50K a day. And that's really been our mission since. And so that's how it all kind of rolled in. And I'll be honest, it's still shaping a little bit as we go because you learn as you go. As you walk a mile, you see a mile, so you learn more. But that's how it's shaped up to be what it is.
I'd love to ask you this, and maybe you can't say this, but if you were to do a documentary on this travel, and maybe you are, what would you name it?
Ooh, that's a good question. I have no idea, man. I don't know. I feel like that will come while we're doing the run. Like, so we are planning on we'll obviously do the social media thing. We're planning on doing like a weekly episode on YouTube, and then we'll turn that
Nice.
into a documentary at the end. So to me, I think, I don't know. That's a great question, man. Like right now, we've named it Chris Runs America because I'm a coach, but I have coaches because I have people to help me and I have mentors. And so one guy was like, man, that's coming up right to the election year. You can name it Chris Runs America because then people will think like, are you running the country or are you running the country?
That is good.
And
Yeah.
so we've tied a little bit around that just for fun. I don't know though, man. That's a great question. I really would love something to be tied to family, and God, because I think
Yeah.
those are my core things that drive me to be my best me.
And how are you going to balance to like the strength training position to all the running? Because if you're in an RV and then you're kind of going to each state
Yeah.
and then you're doing your 50K, isn't it important to also be doing the strength training piece? And so your like body kind of like upkeeps itself throughout
Yeah.
time. So how are you going to manage all of that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So you look at if you're in running, people call it cross training. So like lift
Yeah.
weights, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Just
I'm
get
not
big.
going. I'm not going to, man. I'm be honest. Like
Oh,
I don't.
wow.
I
Okay.
don't care about that at all. So
Gotcha.
people go like, "Are you worried about your health?" I'm like, "Not at all." They're like, "How is that possible?" I'm like, "Because I'm not doing this for my health. I'm doing this. If I was doing this for my health, we would be having a different conversation about the running thing. We also
Yeah.
wouldn't be talking about running around America. I'm doing this to shine light on how amazing you are, and for you to sit home and watch this and go like, man, if Chris can do this, he's just an average dude. Look at, man, I want to show the good, the bad, and the ugly. Like, I
Yeah.
want you guys to see when I'm stressed. I want you guys to see when I react badly to my kids. And then I go apologize and I cry and I go like, baby girl, I'm going to do better. Because that's life, man. That's reality. Like,
Mhm.
there's way too many highlight reels and way too much social media crap of like, look at my cars, look at my great vacations. And then you never see when they're at home changing the poopy diaper. They're
Mhm.
never at home when your two kids are sick right now. You're trying to run business, run, and the stress and pressure feels so intense that you don't know how to handle it yourself. So you turn to God. Right. And
Yeah.
so to me, I won't, like, we have dumbbells that like rotate and stuff. We'll bring them with us, but you'll probably see me pick that up very little because the truth is I'm training to run the miles, not training.
Gotcha.
If I was if I took off my shirt compared to like when I was doing the push up challenge, you go like, whoa, bro, you are way skinnier. And it's very confronting to me because I've always been and in my past I've been a very skinny person. So doing this has given me a new love and development for myself for
Yeah.
whatever shape I'm in. But I won't be doing a lot of cross, and you'll probably get hit up by tons of runners who go like, this guy's an idiot. He should be and I'm sure, bro, I'm sure you guys are right. But I won't be doing much of that. My focus is harmony in my business, harmony with my family, and harmony with the
Yeah.
run. And that's what it's about.
I mean, you're showing what I guess who you kind of truly are in a sense is you are about family, you're about your business. And then this is just showing what people can do, what
Yeah.
anyone can do
Yeah. When you
if you
go,
put your mind to it.
yeah, when you,
And
sorry.
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I just want to say whenever, like, I just want to say this. I don't want to make it just about business. When you go after your purpose, like when you
Yes.
go after that thing that you feel like you're truly called to do, when you don't suppress that and you breathe life into it, you get to see who you really are and what you're really capable and like what it really means to you, man.
Yeah.
And so to me, that's what it's, when I say business, I just mean like purpose, just like this run is my purpose. And so I love to live a purposeful life. And so that's what I really want to show people. Like when you design your life and make it purposeful, how amazing it can be. That doesn't mean it's always going to be easy or simple, but it's
Hmm.
surely going to be like tasty meat that you look back and you don't regret about.
And how long is this challenge going to be? Are you setting like a hard timeline of when it's done?
Yeah, so we'll start December, or I'm sorry, we'll start January 1st, 2027 in Arizona, and we'll go all the way down through all the way down through Texas, Florida, back up the East Coast, across the top, and we will come back into Arizona December 31st of 2027.
Nice.
If we don't do, like, if we have measured short, we will be figuring out a way to run the extra miles. If we go long, we will figure out how to run more miles than a 50K a day, because that is the plan. Is I want to show people and set a Guinness Book of World Records. The most consecutive ultra marathons ever run will be 365 at the end of 2027. That is the vision, that is the goal, and that is what we're shooting for.
That is awesome. And that's really cool.
Thanks.
Have you guys thought about too, like after, like, are you guys going to go back to Utah? Is this also kind of figuring out where you and your wife's plan is of figuring out where you want to live by just going all through the states?
Yeah, so I think, Drew, the honest answer, man, is this. I think after it, our plan is to take a little bit of time off and take a
Well
vacation,
deserved.
take a vacation, run a little bit, like keep running every day, but maybe not, 18, 30 miles, things like that, maybe 5.
It's the 1 mile, the
Yeah,
5 miles.
1
Yeah.
mile. Yeah, that's what I'll be going to get. So we'll take some time off, and then after that, we're going to travel in the RV around America and see and like stay in certain places for certain lengths of season because we want to see like cities and states
Gotcha.
for certain season to go like, oh, because it's different when you're on vacation somewhere. You go like, oh, I love this place. It's brand new. You're doing all this fun stuff, but it's different when you live there. So we want to go and see seasons of different states and decide where us and our young kids will eventually live. So that's one thing we'll do. And then in our mind, we envision that we'll have speaking engagements and things like that. So we'll start to do those.
Yeah, it works out great too with your kids being young because then you can just do all these different things. They don't
Yeah,
have like their commitments, you guys. So
yeah, absolutely, man. That's the best part, right? Is like, especially now, like when they get in their tens and teens, like they're gonna want to be more established. They're gonna want to have like a solid place with friends and school and stuff like that. So this is just an amazing opportunity and time to do it now.
And I'd love to kind of like leave you off with one more question
Of course.
is when you look back on your life and the kind of decisions that you've made and the lessons that you've learned, what do you kind of wish that you had learned younger on that you take for granted now?
Oh, geez, man, that's a whole hour. Episode 2, another hour. What do I wish I would have learned when I was younger? I'll be honest, man. These are a few things I wish I would have learned. Be grateful for it all. Like life is too short. Life is too uncertain. Like it rains on the just and the unjust. Like it's all I believe it. Like I'm created on purpose with a purpose for a purpose, and it's all meant for me. So even when it struggles, even when I want to get rid of it, even when I want to just run from it, still today that happens. Yeah, what I will say is sooner I can like change to being grateful for it and seeing the value, man. Here's another thing I'll give you is I extract value out of everything. And I mean that. Like I will literally go like I told you there's 2 character building days before this, right? Even before the day ends, I go like, man, what can I be grateful for out of this? What like have I learned or has shaped me? And then what value can I get from this? I'm not going through struggles or wins without getting more value. Because if you do that long enough, there's no point to going through the struggle. That's where you get hopeless. And so to me, man, like I think finding gratefulness and finding the value in things is something I would have learned when I was younger. And then the third thing I'll give you that I wish I would have learned when I was younger is start to look for the opportunities in things. Like start to be more open, start to look for the opportunities in things, and start to go like, man, this is meaningful. Like what meaning do I want to give it? Because you inside your head, you're designing it. Like your chatter in your side your head is either automatically happening and you're not observing it and not having any like fluidity to it. You're not having any like interaction with it. It's just running you, or you can get involved in it and go like, what do I want to design? What do I want this to mean? Because a failure can mean like I suck and I have no value and this is the worst. Or a failure could be like, man, this is great feedback. Man, this shows me what I'm capable of going through. Man, I'm getting stronger from this. Man, now I learn this thing. Now I'm more intelligent. Now I'm a better human being. I can make this next day better. And so to me, those are really the 3 things: gratefulness, extract the value, and then start to find those opportunities and create the story you want.
That's amazing, Chris. And
Thanks.
I really appreciate you taking the time here to do an episode today. It means a lot.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me on, man. It's been fun. And Drew, I love it because you're younger than most of the people I've talked to before, and you have a different perspective. You're speaking to a different audience. And man, like, I love the questions because they're unique to you. And I haven't been asked these on different podcasts. So even if you're like, oh, I've heard this Chris guy talking, like some of it may cross over, but there's a lot of questions you asked me that were very intelligent and wisdom for your age, man. So good job.
I appreciate it, Chris. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome, Drew.
Hey everyone, want to take a quick second and say thank you to whoever listened to the episode today. I really do appreciate it and it means a lot. If you did like the episode, make sure to give it a like or 5-star rating depending on what platform you are listening to. And if you really want to support the show, check out our website or Patreon link below. Thank you, and I'll catch you in the next episode.